A strange new object has been spotted streaking across our solar system. It's called 3I Atlas. And it may not be what we think it is. Discovered earlier this year and originally catalogued as a typical interstellar comet, 3I Atlas has now taken a sharp turn, both figuratively and possibly literally. On November 7, 2025, Harvard astrophysicist Dr. Avi Loeb shocked viewers during a Newsmax interview when he said bluntly, "It manoeuvred." What began as a distant celestial object has now turned into one of the most confounding space mysteries of the decade. Observers are seeing things they've never seen before. An object bluer than the sun, speeding through the inner solar system at 150 kilometers per second, ejecting material with no tail, and changing course in ways that don't follow the rules of gravity. And now, as it draws closer to Earth, the question isn't just, what is 3I Atlas? It's, what happens when it gets here? On December 19th, 2025, stay tuned, because what we're about to uncover might challenge everything we know about celestial physics, interstellar objects, and maybe even intelligent life. If you're fascinated by unexplained space events, interstellar mysteries, and the edge of scientific discovery, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe, and drop a comment below. Where in the world are you watching from right now? Let's rewind. 3I Atlas, formerly classified as the third known interstellar object after Oumuamua, 2017, and 2I Borisov, 2019, was discovered in early September 2025 by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System, ATLAS, using telescopes based in Hawaii. From the start, it stood out. Unlike Borisov, which had a traditional comet tail, or Oumuamua, which was cigar-shaped and tumbled strangely, 3I Atlas exhibited no tail. But it did show active jets, 7 of them to be exact, and an oddly fuzzy central core. And then there was the trajectory, perfectly aligned along the plane of the planets. Remarkably coplanar. As if it chose a highway instead of being flung randomly through space. Using visualization tools like Skylive and Stellarium, astronomers could trace its movement across constellations, Virgo, Libra, then into Scorpius. From Earth, it was barely visible. But high-powered instruments told a different story. At perihelion, its closest point to the Sun on October 29, 2025, 3I Atlas lit up. And then the real mystery began. Imagine standing inside a virtual 3D model of the solar system. On October 29th, if you tracked 3I Atlas in Sky Safari or NASA's JPL Horizon system, you'd notice something striking. Its path moved almost perfectly along the ecliptic plane. The same flat path all major planets follow. That's highly unusual. Most comets from the Oort cloud or beyond come in at odd inclinations like 40 degrees, 70 degrees, even 120 degrees. They're wild, untamed. But 3I Atlas, it behaved like a spacecraft using planetary lanes. Coincidence or calculated? Dr. Loeb commented in a Harvard Gazette interview, "When something interstellar follows the plane of the planets, we must consider non-natural explanations. Could it be steering?" Meanwhile, something else was building. October was a turbulent month for solar physics. On October 30th, just one day after 3I Atlas reached perihelion, our Sun released the strongest solar flare of the year, clocking in at X8.3 class intensity. That's powerful enough to disrupt radio signals and push auroras as far south as Texas. Coincidence? Maybe. Solar flares happen. But the timing raised eyebrows, especially since Atlas was directly between the Sun and Earth at the time. More oddly, some observatories reported a precise blue flash emanating from the region of 3I Atlas. Not solar, but reflective, and lasting several minutes. Could this object have absorbed or even triggered electromagnetic resonance from the Sun? Virtual Telescope Project founder Dr. Gianluca Massi stated, "We captured an enhancement in luminosity, a blue shift, that cannot be easily explained by solar reflection or typical outgassing. The intensity of light exceeded what a 5-kilometer rock should emit, especially at that distance. Now let's talk about the tail, or more accurately, the lack of one. Comets heat up near the Sun, spew gas and dust, and form tails pushed by solar wind. It's Comet Science 101, but 3I Atlas refused to play by the rules. Even when it brightened fivefold between November 6th and 9th, a period verified by JPL and the Las Vegas Galileo Observatory, no tail appeared. Instead, 7 concentrated jets emerged from the core in spiral bursts like nozzles. Dr. Loeb calculated that for 3I Atlas to accelerate the way it did, changing trajectory by nearly 0.03 AU per day, it would need to eject 5 billion tons of material. But there's no debris trail, no dust plume, no gas cloud. That's like saying a car jumps 100 feet and left no tyre marks. Some theorists say the jets might be intentional propulsion, microthrusts, controlled burns. Others point to unusual chemical composition, nickel-rich, low in iron, spectral signatures unlike any comet studied before. Could it be metallic? Could it be manufactured? Let's shift to the visuals. While NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, MRO, reportedly captured high-resolution imagery of 3I Atlas on October 28th, none of those images have been released publicly. In response, US Representative Anna Paulina Luna has pressed NASA for declassification. Meanwhile, the Virtual Telescope project in Italy and amateur astronomers across Europe and Asia began racing to document the object with their own optics. What they found was strange. The core of 3I Atlas appeared to rotate, but irregularly jets changed orientation over hours, almost as if adjusting course. And once again, its colour shifted bluer than the Sun, which sits around 500 Kelvin. One Chilean team suggested that this could indicate a high-energy plasma field around the object. But how does an icy object, with a cooler temperature than our Sun, emit shorter wavelengths? Loeb's team ran simulations. The only plausible natural explanation was nickel sublimation, but even that couldn't fully explain the duration and intensity of blue emission. According to NASA JPL's Horizon system, 3I Atlas is on course for its closest approach to Earth on December 19, 2025. Projected distance? About 0.3 AU or 45 million kilometres. That's closer than Mars ever gets to us, but trajectory updates are making astronomers nervous. Over the last 3 weeks, its path has shifted, minutely but consistently. Some now believe it may emit a smaller object or fragment before December 19th. Others think it might even stop accelerating. Or worse, turn. Dr. Loeb recently ran a calculation. If 3I Atlas were intentionally decelerating, it would reach optimal intercept range for a hypothetical mission by March 16, 2026. Coincidentally, that's the exact date proposed by a Galileo Project white paper suggesting Juno or a fast response probe could rendezvous. Is someone planning something behind the scenes? One more alignment to consider. On December 19th, Earth, 3I Atlas, and the Sun will form a near-linear configuration, with the object passing just 6 degrees north of Sagittarius, the same region of sky from which the WOW signal was received in 1977. This is where the rabbit hole deepens. The WOW signal, a mysterious one-time radio transmission that matched no known source, came from coordinates in the constellation Sagittarius, and 3I Atlas is passing just 9 degrees off that original signal's path. Too close to ignore? Some scientists say yes, others say no, we're looking for patterns in noise. But the public? They're watching. Especially now with upcoming radar observations scheduled between December 16th and 21 at Arecibo's successor facilities in China and Italy. This leads us to the central mystery. If this were just a comet, why does it lack a tail? Why is it getting bluer, not redder near the Sun? How did it change course without visible mass ejection? Why did solar activity spike the day it passed closest to our star? And perhaps most importantly, why do we feel like we've seen this pattern before, in Oumuamua, in Borisov, and now again? Are we witnessing a sequence, a breadcrumb trail? Or is the universe simply more chaotic and more complex than our models can comprehend? Across online forums, telescope live streams, and social media, the response has been electric. Reddit threads like R Astronomy and R UFOs are exploding with speculation. X, formerly Twitter, is flooded with GIFs of 3I Atlas's movement and glowing blue aura as seen from the Las Vegas Galileo Project's field observatories. YouTube creators and science channels are already launching full investigations. And you're watching, one of them now. But not all reactions are speculative. Some scientists are skeptical, NASA's Public Affairs Division has stated that they do not have sufficient evidence to classify 3I Atlas as anything other than an interstellar object. And yet they haven't released the high-resolution imagery either. Is it caution or censorship? Here's what we know, and what to watch for. December 16th, 18. Global radar arrays will target 3I Atlas December 19th, closest approach to Earth. December 21st. Post-pass fragmentation or secondary object emission likely, January 2026. NASA and ESA data releases expected March 16, 2026. Theoretical intercept date if any probe is launched or redirected. Until then, we are in a cosmic waiting room. Will it fragment? Will it glow again? Will it release something smaller? Or will it, impossibly, change course again? Interestingly, 3I Atlas is just the latest in a growing pattern of unexplained interstellar events. First, Oumuamua, the tumbling cigar-shaped object with no cometary outgassing yet non-gravitational acceleration. Then Borisov, the fastest known interstellar comet, but still somewhat conventional. And now 3I Atlas, a mix of both, with added complexity. Multiple jets, no tail, blue emission, near-perfect trajectory. And maybe a tinmoisim, just maybe, maneuverability. We're not saying it's alien tech, but if it is, this would be the third interstellar object in under a decade to behave anomalously. How many more will we see before we stop calling it coincidence? The universe doesn't send text messages, but sometimes it sends visitors. And 3I Atlas, whatever it is getting closer every hour. When it reaches us on December 19th, the solar system might never look the same again. In part 2 of this investigation, we'll break down the blue shift in detail, what it means, how it defies temperature laws, and why even physicists are stumped. We'll also explore what NASA isn't saying, and why some believe this object is intentionally hiding its true nature. Let's dive into what might be the strangest part of this entire story, the blue shift. Between November 6th and 9th, multiple observatories, including Harvard's Galileo Project node in Las Vegas and the Virtual Telescope Project in Italy, reported a significant brightening of 3I Atlas. Not a subtle change, it brightened nearly fivefold. That's already remarkable. But what puzzled experts even more was the colour change. 3I Atlas didn't turn redder, like most cometary objects reflecting sunlight from a distance. It became bluer than the sun itself. Let's break that down. In astrophysics, colour isn't aesthetic, it's temperature. Bluer light means hotter emission. Our sun, with a surface temperature of about 5,800 Kelvin, radiates strongly in the yellow-white part of the spectrum. An object radiating bluer than that should be even hotter. But here's the paradox. Spectral. Analysis shows 3I Atlas is cooler than the sun. So how is it emitting blue? Dr. Gianluca Massi noted that this violates expected thermal models. Could it be reflective? Possibly, but the blue brightness increase wasn't directional. It was observed consistently from multiple angles and hemispheres. That suggests it's emitting, not just reflecting, blue. Even stranger, the brightness surge was symmetric and timed with the sun's massive solar flare on October 30th. Let's overlay the timeline. Oct 29, 2025, 3I Atlas reaches perihelion. Oct 30, 2025, the sun unleashes its strongest flare in 3 years, x8.3. Novae 6/9, 2025, 3I Atlas brightens and turns visibly blue. Multiple international researchers noticed a pattern. When cross-referenced with SOHO and SDO, Solar Dynamics Observatory data, an unusual synchronicity appears. The flare's impact zone aligns with 3I Atlas's orbital location. In other words, this object was exactly in the path of the solar event. And afterward it glowed, brighter, bluer, as if it had absorbed something. Now, what could cause this? Let's look at 3 hypotheses scientists are debating. Volatile outgassing, standard comet theory. Some say the heat from perihelion caused sudden evaporation of volatile compounds, maybe frozen gases or exotic materials, which produced the blue emissions. The problem? There's no tail, no dust trail, no visible coma expansion, just concentrated jets. Nickel sublimation, metal-rich core. A paper submitted to Arquanchiv suggests the object may have a nickel-heavy crust, and as it heated, pure nickel sublimated. emitting blue and UV light. Issue: nickel sublimates at extremely high temperatures, not consistent with observed energy levels. And it doesn't account for the structured jet geometry seen by Italy's telescopes. Plasma envelope, artificial field. Some Galileo project analysts speculated that the object might have a magnetically contained plasma envelope, either naturally forming from internal interactions or artificially stabilized. Yes, that opens the door to something technological. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. So why are some calling this controlled? Let's revisit what Dr. Avi Loeb said during his November 7, 2025 interview on Newsmax. There are no natural forces based on current understanding that can explain the trajectory deviation and lack of a debris field. It's manoeuvred. This wasn't said in a blog post or behind closed doors. It was national television. Loeb backed it with calculations, specifically the change in acceleration without detectable mass loss. The math? For 3I Atlas to alter course by just 0.002 AU per day over a 10-day period, without visible outgassing, it would need continuous microthrust equivalent to 5 billion tons of expelled mass. But again, no trail, no shedding, nothing. Which brings us to a deeper question. Is it steering? Let's compare. Natural comets follow paths determined by gravity and light pressure. If they change speed or trajectory, we see gas outgassing, tail curvature, or dust spray. Spacecraft, like Voyager or Juno, change velocity with thrusters. And when they do, we track plume ejections, thermal signatures, and telemetry. With 3I Atlas, we see movement, but no physical cause. Think of it like seeing a boat speeding across a lake, but with no wake, no engine noise, no paddle, just motion. Loeb said, and we quote, "If a natural explanation requires invisible physics, we should consider artificial possibilities." Now here's where it gets even more mysterious. According to a leak from the HiRISE team at NASA's Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter project, high-resolution imagery of 3I Atlas was captured in late October, when the object was crossing near Mars orbit. As of today, November 25, 2025, those images have not been released. Publicly, NASA has stated only, the object is being monitored, data is under review. But pressure is mounting. On November 15th, US Representative Anna Paulina Luna sent an open letter to the Office of Science and Technology Policy requesting image declassification. The concern? That the images might reveal surface structure, symmetry, or worse, technological patterns. Galileo project member Dr. Scott Kindle suggested that if even 1% of the object's surface appears geometrically patterned, it would force re-evaluation of our natural models. So why is NASA sitting on the images? The controversy has now reached Capitol Hill. On November 18th, Loeb was invited to brief members of the House Science Committee in a closed-door session. Eyewitnesses say the atmosphere was tense, not just scientific, but philosophical. Because if 3I Atlas turns out to be artificial, it changes everything. What's at stake? Scientific credibility, government transparency, global perception of extraterrestrial life. For now, official agencies remain cautious. ESA released a short statement on November 20th saying they had no confirmation of anomalous behaviour from their data. Yet independent European observatories are telling a different story. Is this deliberate downplaying? Or genuine uncertainty? Either way, the public trust is eroding. Let's shift back to sky geography. As of this week, 3I Atlas is passing through Scorpius, heading towards Sagittarius, before peaking near Capricornus by December 19th. Here's where things get wild. In Skyview simulations on December 19th, at 03:00 UTC, Earth, the Sun, and 3I Atlas form an unusually aligned configuration, a straight-line triad. This isn't unprecedented, but the timing is eerie. Perihelion, Octi 29, solar flare. Plund blue shift, Octi 30, Nov 9 Loeb's public statement, Nov 7, congressional briefing. Nov 18 closest approach, Diki 19. Almost every major event in this timeline aligns with either solar events, orbital landmarks, or public disclosures. Is it random or intentional? We have to revisit this. In 1977, a one-time radio signal, 72 seconds long, was detected by Ohio State University's Big Ear telescope. Dubbed the WOW signal, it came from RA 19H22 Mix, Dec 27, right near Sagittarius. Now, in 2025, 3i Atlas's closest approach will occur within 9 degrees of that original signal origin. Just a coincidence? Or a return? Dr. Loeb said in a recent podcast that if an intelligent species wanted to send probes towards civilizations, they might use radio breadcrumbs, followed by material follow-up. In other words, signal first, object second. Could we be witnessing the second step? With all eyes on December 19th, what can we expect? Possibilities include fragmentation. Jets may intensify. The object may crack or split into smaller pieces, a known behaviour in some comets. This could hint at internal instability or deployment. New emissions. If additional blue flashes occur or new jets emerge, it could further violate natural expectations. Radar imaging ground-based radar from Goldstone, China's fast array, and the Italian Medicina Observatory will attempt to scan 3i Atlas's core. This could reveal rotation rate, shape, and possibly structural symmetry. If even a hexagonal or geometric signature appears, things escalate dramatically. Nothing. It might behave exactly like a weird comet. That's still important, because it helps constrain what's normal in interstellar objects. Let's step back. We've had 3 interstellar visitors since 2017. Before that, 0, at least none detected. Now, in less than a decade, we've had a tumbling cigar that accelerated mysteriously, a comet that broke speed records, and now, an object that seems to steer, glow, and defy classification. Scientists used to believe the odds of seeing even one of these objects was once per century. Now we've seen 3. So what changed? Are we better at detecting, or are more of them arriving? And if so, why? Are we being studied, contacted, warned? The sky has always been a place of wonder, but now it's a place of questions. Big, unanswered questions. 3i Atlas may be a comet, or a rock, or a relic from another solar system. But if it is something more, then everything changes. In part 3, we'll explore the composition anomalies of 3i Atlas, including why its nickel-heavy iron-light spectrum may indicate manufacturing, not formation. We'll also dive into what other scientists, not just Loeb, are beginning to say behind closed doors. In parts 1 and 2, we examined 3i Atlas's strange path, unexplained manoeuvres, and the blue glow that lit up after its solar flyby. But one of the most revealing clues may lie inside the object itself, in its composition. Comets, as we know them, are typically made of dust, rock, ice, and frozen gases, the leftovers of planetary formation. But 3i Atlas is not behaving like a typical comet, and now we know it's not made like one either. Spectral data, gathered between November 7th, 14 from observatories in Hawaii, Chile, and Italy, reveals a nickel-rich, iron-poor profile. And that is extremely weird, because in space, nickel and iron usually go together, like twins. But here, iron is missing, and that raises a question no one can ignore. Is this a natural body, or a manufactured one? Let's break this down. When light from a star or sun reflects off an object, it carries a signature, a fingerprint of what that object is made of. We analyse those fingerprints using spectroscopy. Normal comets show strong signals of water, H2O, carbon monoxide, CO, methane silicates, and traces of metals like iron and magnesium. But when 3i Atlas passed near the Sun and its surface heated, the gases it released didn't match any typical comet database. What showed up instead? Nickel lines, chromium traces, absence of common volatiles. This composition points to a dense, metallic body, not a frozen snowball. As Dr. Loeb stated in his Galileo project briefing, this composition is not what we expect from an interstellar object. It may be what we expect from something else. Here's the real mystery. Iron is one of the most common elements in space. It forms the cores of planets. It's found in virtually every asteroid we've studied, from Ryugu to Bennu. And yet in 3i Atlas, spectral analysis shows almost no iron signature. That is beyond rare. It's almost unheard of. Why does this matter? Because in both natural processes, like planetary formation and even supernova remnant clouds, iron and nickel form together. Finding nickel without iron is like finding peanut butter with no jelly, or a body without bones. In metallurgy, this is known as selective refinement, something we do here on Earth when creating stainless steel or specific alloys. So ask yourself, who or what refined it? Next, let's talk about those jets. While many comets release gas in random bursts, 3I Atlas emits material through 7 structured jets, spaced nearly symmetrically around its central mass. This was confirmed by multiple images from the Virtual Telescope Project in Italy, Subaru Telescope in Hawaii, the Atacama Observatory in Chile. These jets don't behave like eruptions. They're narrow, consistent, and in some cases, aligned with directional changes in the object's path. We're talking about precision, the kind of precision that suggests control. Dr. Elizabeth Crawford, a physicist at Caltech, reviewed the jet patterns on November 17th and said, "The jet dispersion angles are too uniform to be coincidental. This object's propulsion, if it is propulsion, seems coordinated." Are we witnessing a kind of interstellar reaction control system? Could these jets be miniature nozzles adjusting trajectory like a spacecraft? And if so, who built it? Here's something interesting. The Dawn spacecraft, which orbited Vesta and Ceres, used ion propulsion, a very low-thrust but efficient system that released xenon gas through tiny nozzles. Its thrust was 0.092 newtons, just enough to slowly alter trajectory over weeks. 3I Atlas shows similar acceleration curves. Now, this doesn't prove anything. It could be a coincidence. But when acceleration, direction change, and symmetrical ejection all align, it becomes harder to dismiss the idea that this might not be natural. Remember, Oumuamua had no tail either, and it too changed speed. But 3I Atlas is giving us something more: material evidence, jets, spectral anomalies, and, coming soon, a close-up. We return now to the missing imagery. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, MRO, is equipped with HiRISE, one of the most powerful cameras ever sent to another planet. On October 28th, it was positioned perfectly to snap high-resolution photos of 3I Atlas as it crossed near Mars's orbit. Insiders confirm the images were captured, but NASA has not released them. Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna is now calling for declassification, stating, "The public deserves transparency on any potentially artificial object passing through our solar system." So what's in those images? Possibilities range from a smooth metallic surface, geometric panels, visible nozzles, or something entirely unknown. Until those files are released, speculation will only grow. And if they never release them, that silence speaks volumes. Let's lay out the two competing ideas right now. Formed in a dense supernova remnant, nickel-rich due to starburst filtering jets caused by subsurface pressure and solar heating. Blue glow due to rare photoluminescent compounds. This is the conservative view. And it might be true. But even supporters admit it's unlike any comet or asteroid we've seen. Metal-rich because it was built, not formed. Jets are thrusters. Not vented gas path follows the ecliptic intentionally. The blue glow is active propulsion, not heat. This is the controversial view. And Loeb himself has said, we should not rule it out. Because remember, this is an interstellar object, not born here, not bound by solar history. If it's visiting, it may be observing or delivering something. We keep circling back to this. The 1977 WOW signal came from near Sagittarius and lasted 72 seconds. 3I Atlas is now passing through Sagittarius, and will be closest to Earth on December 19, 2025. That puts it within 9 degrees of the signal's origin, close enough to raise eyebrows. If someone sent a radio message in 1977, could this object be the physical follow-up? Or even the response? Think of it like this. You send a postcard, then you send a drone. Then, maybe, you arrive yourself. That's the timeline some theorists are considering. And the clock is ticking. The window is closing. From December 16th and 2021, Earth-based radar stations will aim their dishes at 3i Atlas. These include Goldstone Deep Space Network, California, Fast Radio, Telescope China, Medicina Observatory, Italy, Jodrell Bank, UK. If clear echoes return, scientists could model surface contours, spin rate jet orientations, possibly unnatural shapes. The radar will either confirm cometary texture or reflective hard metal symmetry. It's not an overstatement to say this may be the most important radar scan in modern astronomy. Because this time it's not just about what we see, it's about what we find, or don't beneath the surface. Let's speculate. If 3i Atlas is a technological object, then it likely had a purpose. Possibilities include data collection, flying through solar systems, sampling atmospheres, scanning planets, seeding, delivering microbial or nanoscale life, listening post, recording radio traffic from intelligent civilizations, relic, a drifting artifact no longer functional. And if it's none of those, then maybe it's part of a network, a system of interstellar beacons. Some scientists suggest the wow signal may have been part of a triangulation, and 3i Atlas could be one node of a larger mesh. In forums, the term being used is silent gatekeeper. Not a message, not a ship, but a sentinel, waiting. Let's pause for a second. If, and this is still if, 3i Atlas is artificial. What does that mean? We are not alone. Intelligence exists elsewhere, and it has the technology to cross the stars. But perhaps more disturbing is this. It knows where we are and it's watching. For some, that's thrilling. For others, terrifying. But for scientists like Loeb, it's exciting. Because for the first time, we might have something tangible. Not just a signal, not just speculation, but a physical object in our skies this month. Across YouTube, Reddit, Twitter, and even TikTok, 3i Atlas has become the most talked about object since Oumuamua. Some people are terrified, others are hopeful, but most are just watching, waiting. Live streams from the Virtual Telescope project have hit over 1 million views. Citizen astronomers are coordinating via Discord to monitor brightness changes in real time. And schools, yes, even elementary science classrooms, are tracking the object's approach as a once-in-a-lifetime learning opportunity. Because no matter what 3i Atlas turns out to be, we're all in this moment together. Something is out there. Nickel-rich, iron light, jet-powered, directional, and glowing blue. It is not following the rules. It is not answering questions. But on December 19th, it will pass closer to Earth than Mars ever does. And we will finally, maybe see what it truly is. In part 4, we'll dive into what happens if the object breaks apart, emits smaller components, or activates. We'll explore what the Juno intercept theory could mean, and why some believe this is just the beginning of a larger contact event. We've talked about its bizarre composition. We've covered the trajectory shift, the mysterious jets, the blue flash, and the silence from NASA. But now, we're almost here. December 19th, 2025, the moment everything converges. 3i Atlas will make its closest approach to Earth, passing just 0.3 AU away, around 45 million kilometers. And every major observatory on the planet will be watching. And not just watching, recording, scanning, listening. Because this isn't just a close pass, this is a moment of truth. From December 16 to 21, radar arrays across the world are pointed squarely at 3i Atlas. Facilities include Goldstone Deep Space Communications Complex, California Fast Radio Telescope, China Medicina Radio Observatory, Italy, Jodrell Bank Observatory, United Kingdom Nancy Radio Telescope. France, these instruments don't just see, they interrogate. They'll send pulses of radio energy toward the object and analyse the echoes. From that we can determine its shape, its surface texture, its rotational period, and potentially artificial symmetry. If there are flat planes, sharp angles, or repeating geometric structures, we'll know. And so will the world. Because these radar returns are expected to be released live, unfiltered. Let's explore what could happen next. The first theory, activation. If 3i Atlas is a probe, it may be programmed to activate based on distance, light exposure, or radio triggers. That could mean emission of new jets or signals, deployment of secondary objects, a burst of non-natural radiation, or even a sudden trajectory change. Some researchers believe that the Dec 19 alignment, when 3i Atlas, Earth and the Sun form a near-perfect line, could be a trigger condition. Whether that's natural resonance or deliberate programming is the question. Dr. Loeb speculated in a recent briefing. If this object is a messenger, it may wait for an optimal geometry to transmit or transform. So what happens if it activates? The second scenario. Fragmentation. Comets sometimes break apart due to internal pressure, solar heating, or rotational stress. But with 3i Atlas, things are different. It has 7 structured jets, not random vents. Its brightness increased after solar exposure, not during. It lacks visible cracks per infrared monitoring from Chile. But if it breaks apart near Earth, that could mean multiple objects entering new trajectories, possible entry of smaller fragments into Earth's vicinity, or deployment of probes or sensors. NASA's orbital simulations list 3 small bodies loosely associated with 3i Atlas's path, currently unconfirmed. But if radar picks them up on Dec 19, that's a game changer, especially if they move independently. Here's where it gets stranger. What if 3i Atlas doesn't emit matter, but information? Radio telescopes will be listening for non-random signals across multiple frequencies. 14 on 20 MHz, the hydrogen line, a common SETI target 10 GHz range. Often used in deep space comms 77 MHz. The same band that picked up the 1977 WOW signal. If any structured, repeating, or coded signal is detected, it would be the most significant scientific discovery in human history. And remember, December 19th places the object within 9 degrees of the WOW signal origin. That coincidence is too precise to ignore. Of course, the simplest outcome? Nothing. It passes by, no signals, no fragments, no blue flashes, no trajectory change. Just a bizarre, jetting, metallic interstellar rock on a weird path, and a continuing on. And if that happens, that's still monumental, because it means our catalogue of space objects must expand, and our assumptions must shrink. It would mean 3i Atlas joins the ranks of Oumuamua and Borisov as evidence that the universe is stranger than we expected. But some still believe this is more than strange. There's one final possibility we must explore. On March 16, 2026, the Galileo project, led by Loeb, calculated that the Juno spacecraft, currently orbiting Jupiter, could perform a gravity assist maneuver to intercept 3i Atlas. This would require massive course correction, public funding, international cooperation, a rapid response mission window. But the timing's perfect. If 3i Atlas maintains its current vector and Juno redirects by early January, the intercept could occur near Saturn's orbit, mid-2026. Such a mission would let us capture high-res images, analyze composition directly, search for technosignatures, and possibly confirm artificial origin. As of now, no agency has officially committed to it, but rumblings suggest that private aerospace partners are already running feasibility studies. Outside the scientific community, fringe theorists are buzzing. Online forums have begun speculating that 3i Atlas is a watcher, a long-range observer, that it's a test to see how intelligent civilizations respond, that it's a seed, releasing information or matter into the inner system, that it's part of a mesh network, one of thousands scattered across stars. The most whispered term, silent gatekeeper, an object that doesn't speak, doesn't move obviously, just waits, watches, and when the right time comes, opens. Of course, these are speculations, but history has shown science fiction sometimes becomes science fact. What if we were never meant to be alone? What if the silence of the stars wasn't absence, but and if what is patience? As telescopes turn skyward on December 19th, the cosmos will be watching back. For thousands of years, humans looked up and wondered. Now, something is looking back. Something metal. Something jetting. Something glowing blue. Something approaching. and whether it's just a rock or something more. This moment will be remembered, because for the first time in a long time, we are preparing not just to look, but to listen. The story of 3i Atlas is still being written. In days it will pass closest to us, and we will see, measure, and analyse everything we can. And maybe, just maybe, we'll finally know what we've been staring at for the last 3 months. So what do you think? Will it fragment? Will it signal? Will it pass quietly? Or will it change everything? Let me know in the comments. I'm watching this one closely with all of you. Before we close, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. I'll be posting real-time updates as new radar data comes in, especially on December 19th, when we'll see the closest pass and potentially the first radar images. Drop a comment. What do you think we'll discover? Will it emit anything? Will it stay silent? Or will something unexpected happen? And finally, tell us where you're watching from, because on December 19th, the whole world will be watching together. The skies have always been our oldest mystery, and now they might be giving us an answer. This was 3i Atlas, or whatever it really is. We'll know soon. Stay curious, stay watching, and don't blink.